Thank you, Gary and Kate, for asking me to be a part of what you're creating on YouTube and answer some interesting wound care questions. My name's Donna Nair. I'm an advanced practice nurse, so a registered nurse. I work as a clinical nurse consultant currently in private practice with Good Wound Care. As you can see from the van behind me, so we are a mobile service and we work in the larger areas around Geelong and Ballarat in regional Victoria. That said, we do cast a pretty wide net, so I can be in the metro areas and quite further than those locations. We offer a telehealth service as well. The types of sectors we work in vary between the young and the old, so a lot in the disability space of NDIS, TAC workspace. We have private clients, home care package clients, and we work in home and residential aged care. We also provide a fair amount of governance type work, advisory, consultative, and education services as well. So it's quite wide and varied. How long have I been involved in providing expert wound care? Well, since 2001 was my first clinical nurse consultant role in wound care. And since then, I've had a variety of roles, predominantly as clinical nurse consultant in the public sector, in government agency, in regional tertiary centres, across acute, community and residential. So again, lots of variety there. Most recently though, our venture is in educating on TikTok. So we have a following there. And when we use the word expert, I tend to find that's an expert in providing education on the basics of wound care. So I like to think I'm an expert in the basics, because if you don't get the basics right, not much else is happening. So the particular field within wound management that excites me the most, and why, is the hard to heal wounds, the ones that no one else can heal, the ones that are chronic and complex for other people for a variety of reasons. And that also spreads for me into the area of lymphedema. So I have completed an accredited lymphedema course, and I find it's completely changed my wound management practice. Even though I call myself a lymphedema practitioner, I'm primarily a wound clinician, but I couldn't do what I do without the lymphedema. So edema can be anywhere in the body, not just the lower legs. And those areas get me quite passionate, because what I find is I can offer people who are at the end of their rope, the end of the line, who have been around everyone else and who often become desperate and hopeless, with very real practical solutions to change their trajectory. And that may or may not mean that wound is healed, but certainly their life and their health related quality of life and goals are focused on more than the wound. What one message would I give a healthcare graduate delivering wound care? That is so difficult to just answer one thing, because they do often come to us in desperation, concerned that they've not learnt enough in their training and that there's not enough resources at their workplace, and they are overwhelmed by dressings. And I think when people like us come along and say, rightly so, it's not about the dressing and you've got to assess the wound first, I don't think they're all the time hearing it, because they're already overwhelmed. So what I really want to say, if I had to say one thing, is give it time and let yourself get some experience. There are resources at your workplace. There may very well be a dedicated wound clinician, wound resource people at your workplace. There'll be policies and procedures, hopefully. But besides that, there are plenty of resources and courses to do. I am overwhelmed with the amount of wound education that's available, so you will find something to help you. But what I find is when people get it wrong and the graduates just want to do wound care, and I have so many of them that tell me particularly on TikTok, I want to become a wound care nurse, but they don't even know the basics of wound care. So I even question that their limited experience really means that they don't know anything about wounds. So, we come along and tell them not to worry about the dressing. I think we're actually giving them too much information to start with, particularly nursing graduates. So I really want to tell them to get some experience in disease process, in chronic illness, in how the body heals, and the different types and variety of wounds that are out there. And then it's all going to start to fall into place when you do start to do additional courses and that type of things. These people are using social media as their primary search engine to look for these answers. So it's a really, really big problem. I don't think we've addressed this yet as a wound community or even in just healthcare in general. So there's lots of messages I would like to give graduates, but I hope that's answered that one for you, because it's a biggie. My most satisfying experience or story in caring for someone with a wound, look, it's really, really hard. For me, I think it comes down to an experience. I particularly am drawn to journeying with people. Whether you like that word or not, doesn't matter. I like continuity of care, and when we are able to facilitate that and enable people in their life to get their life back and to not have that wound or edema problem be the focus of their life and limit them, that is most satisfying for me. And yet I don't think it's about us, it's really about the client. And when you can make it not about the wound and about them, you'll get it right all the time. And they're the types of experiences that give me the most satisfaction and what I strive for, because there are a lot of people out there who need wound care clinicians. And I think, as once you've said it really, really well, Gary, people just don't know what we do, and we're missing a lot of people and being able to help them get free from these wounds. 15 minutes with a politician would really challenge me. I'm going to say it right there. I don't always think I do a good job of talking about health economics, and yet it's so, so important. What I would like to get across to a politician, if I had that time, is a thorough understanding of what a wound is and what it takes to heal and, better yet, prevent a wound. I find we bandy this word around a lot, wound. We don't always define it, and I think a lot of people have bias on their understanding of what a wound is. I'm talking about non-healthcare people here, politicians not excluded. So what do they really understand a wound is? Do they actually know? I can sit around a table, a meeting in healthcare of non-clinicians in healthcare who actually don't know what a significant wound is and how that affects someone's life. So I would just want to make sure they know that first, but then talk about cost savings in terms of it costs far less to heal a wound than it does to keep one there. So yes, it's about the client, but gee, when you really grill it down, it's about the costs too. So I would really unpack that with a politician. The worst wound care advice I've been given. Yeah, we all have a book on this, don't we? I'm going to love seeing everyone else's replies. Look, it could be when I come in and see people still using ring devices on pressure injuries, or people saying that, no, we've tried compression and it doesn't work, and they don't understand that not all compression is equal. You've probably not had proper compression in the first place. But I think the worst, the absolute worst, the one that almost, gets me emotional is when we're told, no, you're not needed because that's not healable. I really think we strive for wound healing far too much. And sometimes we'll get there and we should be striving for healing. But just because someone who may or may not know what they're talking about has determined that it's not healable, or that the client may be making alternate choices in their life, which they're entirely able to do, that we're not needed. I actually think we're needed more so in those cases. And I have found when I do get involved that many times we can make a significant improvement in that individual's life. And just ask the question, why? Why is it that you don't want to wear the compression? What is it that you didn't like about it? Often the answer's very simple and very solvable. So when people think we're not needed, I tend to think, you know what, we probably are.